in, that means you're feeling the vibe. The bell rung, you already been subscribed. Right now, the queen, she on live. Right now. Please pull over the whip, no phoning when you drive. Dope Soul sporting with the talk. First lady from New York, Brooklyn. All my people, you rocking with the chat. Hit that. That like button would tell me where you at. You know, step from the MBK. Born and raised up MBK. Hey, real lady where she holding it down. No matter way how you feel, she gon' greet you with a smile.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Dope Soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope Soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope Soul.
What?
Dope Soul.
What?
Your soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Salute, Knick family. Welcome to the channel, Dope Soul Sports Talk, Dope Soul Knicks Talk, a member of the NBK family. The Knicks lost a tough one the night before, Saturday night, to the Clippers because we could not get a timely rebound in regulation. The Knicks had a quick turnaround, less than 24 hours, to play the Philadelphia 76ers, who have been on a roll as of late. And, you know, the Knicks won the game. The Knicks won the game. They were without RJ Barrett, who was a late scratch. And let's not forget, Mitchell Robinson is out, you know, for us as well. And the Knicks did it. I mean, we're gonna get into it. It wasn't without some drama, as it always is with the New York Knicks, right? But they won the game. The bench came up big. Fournier came up big. Tibbs closed with McBride and Fournier riding the hot hand. We're gonna get into all of it. Shout out to the chat, those who are gonna come in later and those who are going to listen later. Also, for those who are in the Washington, D.C. area, or those who are on the East Coast and don't mind driving or even flying in, the MBK fam, including myself, you know, most of the MBK content creators, I shouldn't say most, but a lot of the MBK content creators will be at the Washington, D.C. game, Knicks versus Washington, D.C. in D.C., Friday, February 24th, I believe. The link is in the description. If you want to get your tickets, I believe it's $135. We're in the 100 section. It's really close. Really good arena. I was at the last Knicks game in Washington, D.C. We're going to have a live podcast, pregame, and as well as postgame. And those who don't want to go to the game, if you just want to stay back and just have a watch party, that'll be great, you know, as well. We're at Guy Ferari's, I hope I said that right, Ferari's Restaurant, which is connected to the arena. Right. So those who are going to the game, you just get your stuff and you just go right across, you know, to the game. And those who are staying back and going to watch the game there, it's a really nice place to watch the game. All right. That being said, let's get into it. The Knicks came into the game 28-26. Again, they've been pretty consistently in the 7th spot in the Eastern Conference. 4-6 over their last 10. They lost their last game to the Clippers in overtime, of course. Philly 34-17 on the season, 3rd in the Eastern Conference, 8-2 over their last 10. They've lost their last game. We started Brunson, quickly Grimes, Randall, and Sims. Mitchell Robinson was out, but also, and it's not here, RJ Barrett was a late scratch from the game as well. They started James Harden, DeAnthony Melton, PJ Tucker, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. All right. I'm going to get right into the game today. We can get into individual stats, team stats, things of that nature. But I wanted to start with the game itself. The Knicks were down 21 in the first half. And I was like, wow, we usually play well in the first half. We got down by 21 against this team. And I said, are you telling me we're about to get blown out today? I mean, when was the last time the Knicks got blown out? Maybe 2 months ago? It's like, we're about to get blown out by the Philadelphia 76ers. This is going to be embarrassing. I was on the NBK pregame show, and I was like, the Knicks have a chance. Like, every time we count them out, every time we look at the schedule, every time we look at a tough team, this was a less than 24-hour turnaround after a tough loss. Every time we count them out, they tend to come come up big. So I was like, I'm kind of confident about this Philly game. Next thing you know, we down 21 in the first quarter. I said, wow, this is about to get ugly. But that bench came in the second quarter and they went to work. Listen, Fournier had 8 points in that second quarter. McBride had 7 points in that first quarter. They actually was able to help get the lead within 3. Excuse me, get us within 3. I mean, Philly was still up. I think it was 32 to they at 35, right? But the bench as of late has been coming in with a lot of energy. And I gotta say, I was super happy for Fournier. I know he doesn't have a lot of fans in the chat. This guy can shoot the ball. We're one of the worst 3-point shooters in in the league. And I think, his defense, he doesn't have the worst defense on the team, right? And I keep saying this. He was in the starting lineup the entirety of last season. We were the 11th ranked defense, right? I'm not saying he's a great defender, but it's who you put around him. He was on that floor with Sims, McBride. If it wasn't Sims, it was iHeart gobbling up, the rebounds. That ends a defensive possession, right? A defensive possession ends with a rebound. You have poor defenders. You don't want to be giving them offensive rebounds. Now they got to play another round of defense, right? So iHeart did his thing as well. McBride, 7 points in the second quarter, 7th in the fourth. Kudos to Tom Thibodeau for closing with Fournier and McBride, right? Those guys, I mean, Fournier, I think, fouled out. We had to bring, Grimes back in. But those guys was the one that was making it work on that second unit. They were scoring for us. And he kept them in to close the game, and I thought that was huge for us instead of going back with who you would usually close the game with, IQ and Grimes. And shout out to McBride as well. Tibbs trusts him now, right? In the second quarter, I know in the fourth quarter he played with Brunson, but in that second quarter, he was the lead guard, right? Tibbs could have ran IQ with that second team, just like he runs RJ with that second team, even though RJ starts. But I think he's at the point where he trusts McBride, and McBride was the primary ball handler in the second quarter. With Grimes. He ran Grimes with that second team. He came down one time. Obi was open on the left. He looked Obi off and passed the ball to Fournier. I said, oh, now Obi has been shooting, I think, over 40% since he's returned from injury. Fournier has been struggling from 3. Hasn't really been playing. So I'm like, that was a curious decision unless, he's thinking like a experienced point guard. We're going to need Fournier tonight. I don't know if that's what he was thinking. Like, we're going to need Fournier tonight. Let me get him this shot and get him going. If he was thinking like that, that's another level. I'm not too sure about that. But he plays with a lot of confidence, McBride. Our heart, 14 rebounds, and we needed all of them. All of them was necessary. You don't want to mess around giving up second chance opportunity, giving up second chance points. I think the Knicks was 20-7 as far as second chance points is concerned. We'll get to that when we get to the team stats. But I thought the bench was phenomenal in that third quarter. I just want to look at my notes, make sure I have that right. Obi, McBride, and Fournier hit consecutive threes to start the fourth quarter. The Knicks went on a 10-0 run. They got the lead, and they never relinquished that lead. I thought the bench was phenomenal. All right, let's see what the chat is saying. All right. I appreciate you, Jeff Clafter. I appreciate you. Now, that's what I call a comeback. Absolutely. With a little drama, though, right? A little drama when they was trapping at the end of the fourth quarter. And I don't know what we were doing, but it wouldn't be the Knicks if there wasn't a little drama in the fourth quarter. Absolutely. Absolutely. They never give up. And that's what I'm saying about the Knicks mentality. Say what you want about this team. They will fight and they will claw to get back into a game. Now, they're inconsistent in terms of closing, but as someone pointed out in the chat, we're a young team, age-wise, and in terms of playing together. And you have to learn how to close. And when you have young players, they are going to be inconsistent, right? The bench came up big. McBride came up big. The three-point shot is falling. He had 14 points. Tomorrow, he might have 3. iHeart came up big. He's been playing well as of late. He had 14 rebounds. The next game, he might foul out. They're just not there yet in terms of being super consistent on the season. But these last 4 or 5 games, the bench is really shaping up, in my opinion. Shout out to Ally Wise. Jerrell, I appreciate you as well. Kareem Grant, Ajay, Sherwin. Sherwin is not a big Brunson fan. He doesn't pass the ball enough, and he doesn't defend. Listen, you're going to find that throughout the NBA. You just have to play to your strength and minimize your weaknesses as much as possible, right? That's who he is right now. That's who he is. He'll grow. He'll get better. This is where we are. All right, I want to talk about the Knicks defense as well. Philly scored, I believe it was 35 points in that first quarter, and I believe they scored 68 points the rest of the way. And I think the Knicks defense had a lot to do with that. The Knicks trapped Embiid on the catch. On the catch? No, on the I think it was on the catch, or was it on the bounce? Anyway, they trapped Embiid pretty consistently, and there were times when they trapped Harden. And this is what I wanted to see from our defense. I get it. Our rotations are not great. You trap, they move the ball, you're going to find an open player. It's just going to happen. You're just not going to be able to move as fast as the ball, right? But let's see. Maybe they don't move the ball quick. Maybe the person who had the play who has the open shot, maybe they miss. The Knicks did that last night. Listen, he still had, I think, 21, 20. I think he had 30. I'm not sure what he had. We'll get to that. This is what happens when you change it up and you don't do the individual stats first. Anyway, he still scored for them, right? But he didn't kill us. He didn't dominate, the game. And I think the trap was part of it. Get the ball out of their hands. Let the other players beat you. And last night, they did not. I really like that strategy. We did it with Harden as well at times. And this is what I would like to see from Tom Thibodeau. Mix it up a little bit defensively. I know you have your base sets. I know you have your philosophy of how you want to defend, but mix it up a little bit. Miami does that. Now, I will say you kind of have to have the personnel to do that. And you have to have players with a certain defensive IQ to be able to, run these different variations, if you will, on defense. I'm not sure the Knicks have those players, but last night they did. And last night they looked great, and it worked. Sometimes it doesn't work, right? You trap, they pass it around, they hit the open shooter, they hit a 3. But last night it worked. So kudos to the Knicks for their defense. Kudos, I talked about this closing with Fournier and McBride. Those two, listen, Brunson did his thing. Randall did his thing. Both of those guys hit timely baskets, for us. I'm not taking anything away from them. But that bench did their thing. And it was led by Fournier and McBride on the offensive end, and iHeart with 14 rebounds. That was huge. Every rebound that came off the basket, he got, right? So kudos to him. And then, the little drama at the end, as I talked about a little earlier with the press. McBride, saving this errant pass. I don't know. I don't know what the Knicks were thinking. But anyway, he just levitated, caught it, like he was playing right field in a baseball game, right? And was able to throw it, back in bounds. So, a little drama down the stretch. But when the Knicks got that lead, I think it was 83-82, they never relinquished. Philly, made their runs as well, but the Knicks got key baskets. And this is how you win basketball games. You can have 32 points, but you need those timely baskets as well. When you're trying to get back in the game, when you're trying to cling to a lead, the team is making a run. We need a basket right now. We need a key rebound right now. We need a key stop right now. The Knicks lost 2 games because they could not secure a key rebound. The Dallas game and the Clipper game, right? Every bit counts. And I didn't shout out Sims on that second unit. Sims played well also. Sims went to the line 6 times. He made 4 of them. This is a guy who was shooting in the 40s or 50s from the free throw line last season. Now, okay, he didn't take a lot, but still. Even in college, if you look at his free throw shooting in college, every year they got worse. that doesn't bode well for somebody improving their free throw shooting, right? This guy was shooting 80% coming into the game, albeit he only took 10. But to me, that's even more impressive because you don't get to the line a lot, right? There's no rhythm. There's no flow. You don't get to the line a lot. He went there 10 times. He made 8 of them. Last night, he went there 6 times and made 4 of them. You know, I was really impressed with Sims. And also that last basket. He got the ball out near the 3-point line, took 1 dribble and slammed it. You know, the bench is playing with confidence. You know, those guys are playing with confidence. And hopefully, I'm going to check in with the chat after this. I would like to see Fournier in the rotation. I really would like to see him in the rotation now. I will say this. You know, in terms of playing behind RJ Barrett, but I will say this. If you go to a 10-man rotation, right, that's less minutes for RJ Barrett with the second team, right? So he starts, you know, basically when in that starting unit, Randall and Brunson pretty much dominate the ball, right? And you know, Barrett plays off of them. Though lately he's been super, you know, super aggressive, taking the ball and doing his things, initiating, you know, on offense. But for the most part, it's those 2 guys. RJ plays off of, you know, off of them. But in that second unit, he's the lead. He's the focus, right? You go to a 10-man rotation where with that second unit, you have 5 totally different players from the starters. I think that limits RJ Barrett's effectiveness. So I'm not quite sure, even though I think Fournier's shooting seems to be coming around and we can use it. I'm not quite sure when Barrett returns if we're going to expand the rotation to 10. I don't think we will. I think Fournier is situational if a wing player is out. Sherwin, wish we can trade Fournier now. Jeff Clafter. RJ belongs with the second unit. Salute, staffer. Okay, I know we don't agree on my patience in seeing special utility talents in our youth, but my youth 2021 summer boys are starting to be what I said. Yeah. They're definitely coming along, but that's not the point I was trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is that when you have young players, they can go either way, right? So you're always making, it's like the stock market. The stocks can go up, stocks can go down, right? So you got to be clear about the guys you want to be patient with, because basically you're betting that they're going to turn into solid players, but you also have to keep in mind that they can decline as well. They can level off as well. So at the time, we being all super excited about 2nd-round draft picks, that's fine. But if somebody else comes along who's a bit more proven in the league and not old, not over the hill, not injury prone, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years older than those guys, and they're proven, I would make that trade all day, every day. Because what are the chances that a 2nd-round pick is going to become a star? Yeah, they might become a rotation player, right? But if somebody already is a rotation player, you're cutting your losses. And this is what the front office has to do. The front office can't be fanboys and fangirls. The front office can't look there and be like, you know what? I'm holding on to this pick no matter what. No matter what comes across my desk, I'm holding on to these guys. Depends. You know, if it's a Jaden Ivey or Chet Holmgren or Banchero, yeah, I'm doing that. If it's an Obi or McBride, maybe, probably not. So that's the point I'm trying to do. Say, Paris Duggar, we just can't be like, hold, no matter what. You know, it's more than belief. You got to play the percentages. You know, that's what the front office is, you know, is paid to do. But, you know, they're playing well now, but they all still on the table. Depending on what comes across the Knicks desk, they're still tradable. But always be patient with two-way. But who's the two-way players, though? Sims is not a two-way player. McBride, maybe he's a two-way player. You know, his three-point shot is coming along. So, again, in the NBA, and it's not just for the Knicks, in the NBA, everybody is up for grabs if somebody else better comes along. Period, point blank. That's just how it is. And IQ is a two-way player. Absolutely. Absolutely. And in my opinion, right now, Grimes and IQ are reasonably untouchable. Meaning, for me, I would just put them in a trade for a star. Anybody else, you know, any of those other players that are 7 through 9, if somebody better comes along and they can make this team better, and they're also young and they're a bit more proven, yeah, I would definitely do it. All right, let's see. Tim Smith, good morning, all. Proud to be a Knicks fan. They never quit. Yeah, I agree. Teddy Cincinnati, appreciate you. Welcome to the channel. Not sure if this is your first time. If it is, welcome. Would y'all be mad if RJ got traded? Not me. Not me at all. RJ, the Knicks only beat teams missing their best player, blah, blah, blah. Philly was at full strength, and we were missing RJ and Mitch. Yeah. Cleveland was at full strength. Boston was at full strength. Miami was at full strength. Listen, the Knicks are a good team. The issue with the Knicks is the inconsistency. You know, is closing. Are we going to get bench play tonight or not? You know, which Randall are we going to get tonight? Which Brunson are we going to get tonight? What RJ are we going to get tonight? Though, in all fairness, I think Randall and Brunson have been pretty, pretty consistent. They may have bad games, as most players do, but what are you getting from the other players? Right? I mean, there was a time when this bench was anemic. There was a time when we had to put IQ in the starting lineup, forget it. You're not getting anything from this bench. IQ was in the starting lineup last night. The bench scored 36 points. I believe it was 30. I believe it was 36. Yeah, I believe it was 36 to Philly 16. RJ hate stinks up the plate. Our community, our children, OCOC. I mean, we'll talk about RJ Barrett a little later in the show. C-Mac, I would leave the Knicks fandom if RJ got traded and Randall is still here. Why? Randall is a better player right now. Snipes Entertainment, RJ is a polarizing player among Knicks fans, but he brings nothing to the table. Wow. That's strong. All right. Well, anyway, we're gonna talk about RJ Barrett a little later. All right, let's do this real quick. Randall, 24 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, shot 87.5% from the field. Is that correct? No. Shot 42.1% from the field, 87.5% from the free throw, line. Randall got some big basket, for us last night. There's times where he goes into what I like to call pantry mode, where he just wants to pass the ball and give it out. And don't get me wrong. What I mean by that is his intent when he drives is not to score. His intent is to set up somebody else. And I think his intent should always be to score and then read the defense. If the defense forces you to pass. But sometimes he gets right to the basket. And this is something we saw last season as well. And earlier in the season, we didn't see this as much, and I thought he was over it, but it's coming back. And that's right at the rim to lay it up, and then just throws a bullet out of bounds. I get what he's trying to do, but the execution is off. And I feel like when you're that close, score the ball. Score the ball. If they double team you, if they rotate over, read the defense, obviously. But sometimes I think he goes in expressly to set people up. No. And then he winds up turning the ball over. Stay aggressive. In that fourth quarter, I thought he kind of readjusted himself. He went to the basket to score. That's what you do. And then you read the defense and you pass, depending on what the defense does. But don't go in automatically with your mind made up. Oh, I'm going to go in there and this guy's going to come over and then I'm going to pass to this guy. That's what it seems like he's doing to me. Brunson, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal. Didn't shoot well, 37.5 from the field. But this guy, talk about a shot maker. Didn't matter. Scored over Embiid. It just doesn't matter with Brunson. Some games he has bad games. Some days he's off. Some days he doesn't hit the shot. But I'm not buying into the narrative that he can't score against faster guards. He can't score against taller people. He can't score against, because I've seen him do it against all types of players in the NBA. He'll get better, in my opinion. Brunson is a budding star. He's 25 years old, 26 years old. He hasn't even hit his prime yet. This is his first year being a starter for the full year with this type of load, this type of usage, being the top 1-2 player on the team. And I guess you could say he was the second best player on on Dallas, but wasn't a lot of usage after, wasn't a lot left after Luka. With the Knicks, he's sharing that spot. He wasn't sharing with Luka, right? In my opinion. So he'll get better. Next year, oh my goodness. Next year, if he takes a step up, he's going to be even better. Really, really loving Brunson. I know some people are on him for not passing. And I do think, when he does get into the lane, he can pass. But you're talking about somebody who's shooting 50% in the key. You're talking about somebody who's one of the best scorers in the league, in the 5 to 9 foot range, or is it either 1 to 5 or 5 to 9 foot range? He's one of the best in the league. So usually when he gets in there, he finishes at a high percentage. Do you really want him passing out when that's his bread and butter? That's his spot. I don't know about that, but I agree. When you're double teamed, you do need to pass it out. And I think there are some times in the fourth quarter when there are inopportune turnovers, inopportune turnovers, and mostly because he's trying to pass it out. No, I'm kidding, but just inopportune, turnovers. But I'm good with Brunson and his play. He'll get better. 48, 17 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 steal, shot 54.5% from the field. I think he had 5 3-pointers. Love the way Fournier played last night. People talk about his defense. How's his defense compared to Brunson? How's his defense compared to RJ Barrett? I think the problem is when you're playing all 3 of them in the lineup at the same time. I definitely get it. But you have somebody who's not a strong defender, and you surround them with strong defenders, they're going to play better. McBride, 14 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 50% from the field. These past few games, he's been playing really well, hitting his shot. He stays confident. He said, I watched his, little presser. He said he trusts his work, right? Which is why he just kept putting up the shots, even though he wasn't hitting them. He trusts the work that he put in, that eventually they would fall. In the past few games, they have. The Knicks didn't 43% from the field. They didn't shoot well. 35.7% from the 3-point line. Only 71.8% from the free throw line. Embiid, all right, 31 points. Here we go. 14 rebounds, 3 assists. He turned the ball over 5 times. I think the Knicks had a lot to do with that. He only shot 37.5% from the field. I put free throw line from the field. The Knicks had something to do with that. Harris, 14 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, a block, 41.7%. Harden, 12 points, 12 points. I believe that should be 12 assists. 1 block, only 36.4% from the field. The Knicks had a lot to do with that. They shot just 28% from the three-point line. I don't know if that was the Knicks or if they was just off. Because the Knicks were trapping, right? If you pass out the trap, you're going to get good looks. They shot 28%. And I think, when you're trapping, that's what you're doing. You're taking a chance that if they move the ball, they're going to find this open guy, open player, and they're just not going to hit. All right, and let me see if there's anybody else I didn't talk about. Quentin Grimes, 30 minutes. He didn't close the game. I think he came back in when Fournier fouled out, if I'm not mistaken. But 13 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. Didn't shoot well from 3, 1 for 5, but 5 for 11 overall. Grimes has been playing, well, as of late also. And Obi Toppin, 4 points, 4 rebounds. Love the way Obi Toppin is rebounding. And a little bit of time that he gets, I love the fact, how he's rebounding. And that three-pointer, I think it was him, McBride, and Fournier, top of the fourth quarter, 3 consecutive threes to give the Knicks a lead that they maintained for the rest of the game, right? That was a big shot by Obi Toppin, which tells me that he's staying engaged, right? Do what you can in the minutes that you get. No crying. Just do what you can in the minutes that you get. The Knicks only had 9 turnovers. 9 turnovers. Julius Randle had 3. Brunson had 2. Grimes had 2. Wow. Good stuff. All right, let me check in with the chat. Okay. Last year roster was bad. Fans still don't get the difference from last year and hold guys like JB, Randle, and RJ accountable, but never Mitch. LOL. This year, not the same for all our guys. No more Kemba. Appreciate you. If Brunson was a better passer, he'll be unguardable. Appreciate you. Jeff Clafton, 19 free throws for Jerrell, and he made 18. He has such a soft stroke. I mean, really. Keith Turner, why do Knicks fans feel the need to get into their feelings about other people talking about players and you don't even know them personally? Yeah. Snipes Entertainment, RJ is worse than Starks. Starks was inconsistent, but I'll give kudos to players who are being inconsistent on a high level. You know what I mean? There's a difference. Starks played in a lot of games, and when the light shined really bright, and some games he came up big, and some games he didn't. But Starks played on a different stage than RJ. Deron Wayne, Randall showing leadership, encouraged Grimes to shoot, and gave him the ball for the opportunity to shoot. He is maturing and learning a lot from last season. I agree with that. Yeah. And went right to him. I believe it was the very next possession, went right to him. And Grimes, what did Grimes do? He pulled up. He did not put the ball on the floor. He did not pass it. So, yeah, I agree with you. Our communities, our children, efficiency. Is that what is on the scoreboard or are points on the scoreboard? Points are on the scoreboard for sure. But I think efficiency counts too. If you got to take 30 shots to get 30 points, maybe those shots are best taken by somebody else, but yeah, at the end of the day, it is about the points. Angel Torres, salute, great win. Just wish they were more you and me both. Love your logo as well. That is fire. Randall is a better player right now. Yes, he is. But are you betting that RJ is going to be better than Randall after 4 seasons of seeing, what you saw? And listen, we look at this as fans. If you're a front office, these are the decisions you have to make. You got to extrapolate. You got to sit here and say, a player can level out or a player can take off. This is what I've seen after 4 years. If a trade comes across my desk, that's what makes the front office decisions hard. This is why they get paid the big bucks. Something comes across your desk. Ooh, this player is A, B, C, and D. They've been in the playoffs. They're a little more proven. RJ has done this thus far with a little tweak here and there. He can really take off and flourish. This is why they get paid the big bucks, to make these types of decisions, right? Because we always think about, what if we, trade the player and they blossom, then we're going to look bad. That was a bad move. We're going to set our franchise back. But it works the other way as well. You can hold too long and a player don't become who you thought they would. You let a good player that came across your desk, you passed on it. That sets the franchise back as well. Works both ways, right? All right. Jeff Claft, RJ won't be a star unless he plays elite defense and drastically improves his efficiency. Those are big ifs. Listen, I mean, there've been players, elite players who weren't great defensively, right? And they've been elite players who haven't been efficient. Allen Iverson was one of the best. He wasn't a very efficient player, but the difference is that he was talented enough to be the best player on that team. And so he got the shots to be inefficient. He could take as many shots as he wanted. I don't know if RJ Barrett is on that trajectory where he's going to be the best player on the team and they're going to allow him to just shoot no matter what, because the positives outweigh the negatives. And that's the difference with inefficient elite players, right? Snipes Entertainment, that just goes to show that the draft guards are not in our favor. The Knicks could have had Steph and refused to give up a first pick to move up. I'm sure they regret that now. Frank Overs, yeah. C-Mac, Brunson is a budding star. I'm just worried about his longevity in the long run. He a little thicky though. He's strong. I think he's gonna be all right. Jerrell, JB scoring on Embiid in the paint. He can score on, and he can score on anybody. Is he 100%? No, there's no player in this league who shoots 100%. Our communities, our children. Prediction: the Knicks will win 44 games this season. Prediction: RJ Broadway Barrett will be a star in the NBA for a long time. I mean, I think he will be. It depends on what you mean by star. So if you can give me, like, what's your definition of star, or give me some players that you consider a star, because I think RJ Barrett is going to be a good player in this league for a long time. 17 to 20 points a game, 5-6 rebounds, 3-4 assists. I'm not sure how much better his defense, is going to get, but that's a really good player. A star is somebody that they're the best player or they're the best player on the team, or the best two players on the team. This is somebody that you can go to down the stretch of a game when things are closing down and nobody seems to be getting anything done, and you just put the ball in that player's hand and say, you know what, get me a bucket. I don't think RJ Barrett is there yet. His game off the dribble is not there yet. And that's something and my concern is that's what he was working on this off season, right? So we shall see. I'm not gonna say what RJ Barrett will never ever be. Yeah, can he be a star? Yeah, it's possible. Can anybody on this team be a star? It's possible. What's the probability? Are you putting your money on it? If you're a front office, are you banking on it? And that's the difference between us being fans and the front office, right? They're thinking long term. They're thinking, because if you think he's a star, that changes what you do. That changes how you build out this team. That changes who you go after. Maybe you don't even go after anybody. If you think RJ is going to be a star in 2 years, maybe you stand pat. If a trade for another star comes across your desk, RJ might then be untouchable. You might trade Brunson. You might trade Randall because you think RJ is going to be a star. right? And so what the front office thinks and how the front office values their players informs what they do and what they don't do. So they better get it right, because you can accelerate your team's rebuild or you can set the organization back, depending on how you read or misread talent, right? The Knicks haven't done a great job historically. I'm not talking about this particular front office. Historically, as far as drafting talent, getting better as of late. But then also, another part of the front office, as far as talent is concerned, is evaluating the talent that's on the roster and who you're going to keep and who you're going to move off of because of money, and the cap situation, because of who else comes across your desk and what you're trying to do, right? So that's something for us to keep an eye on as well. Like, people get on the Knicks for not re-signing one of their first round draft picks, and I don't know how many years it was. Good for them. Don't double down on your mistake. There was nobody the Knicks did not re-sign that they should have. They didn't draft well. And they didn't make the mistake of doubling down and extending those guys, right? So their in-house evaluation of talent, once they got them in-house, has been okay in terms of who we're going to keep and who we're going to move off of. David Lee, probably the only one that I would have re-signed. And I think he came in that funky time when, teams were trying to clear cap space for the LeBron James race, if I'm not mistaken. That's, I think, the only reason why he wasn't re-signed. All them other cats, none of them needed to be re-signed. And this is where the Knicks are now. How are you evaluating your in-house talent? Don't make mistakes now holding on to players and they don't become anything, or they don't become stars, or giving up on players and they do become stars. There's no way you can know this with certainty. It's all educated guesses. But you got to get it right. You got to get it right. Salute to Paris Doug. Appreciate the super chat. Hit those likes. Support the great show. I do what I do. I try, but definitely hit the like button. Julius Randle did nothing. Listen, that was 2 years ago. Let's stop the hate. If you want to stop the hate on RJ, let's stop the hate on Randle. Both of them are our players. Both of them are in-house. Let's support both of them. Let's not pit one against the other, right? I'm just looking at RJ after 4 years, and I'm also looking at Randle after 4 years. If you want to bet that RJ is going to be a rant, then do it. I don't have a problem with that. I think RJ is going to be a solid player. I don't see stardom. My opinion means absolutely nothing. He still can be a star, right? I think Randle is a good player. I think he can be an important part on a championship team. Your best player? I don't think so. But he can be an important piece on the championship team. I also think RJ Barrett can be an important piece on the championship contending team. But I also believe if the Knicks are going to bring in a star, one of those three are going to have to go. And if I had to choose, I would choose RJ Barrett. Others probably would choose Randle. It's just it's who you pick. All right, team stats. Let's move this along. Second chance points stands out for me. 20 second chance points for the Knicks. 7 for Philadelphia. The Knicks turned it around. They were down 21. They win by 11. Right? That's what, a 32 point turnaround. Yeah, 32 point turnaround. Bench points 37-16. The Knicks play really, really well. Yeah, we're about to talk about that right now. All right. So the question I have, there's 3 days until the trading deadline. Do we still need to upgrade the bench? McBride seems to be coming along as far as his shooting is concerned. Tibbs seems to be trusting him, at least in that second quarter. Tibbs ran with him at the point. He was the one that initiated the offense, ran that offense in the second quarter. Remember, IQ was on the bench. iHeart seems to be coming along as of late. Obi, he's shooting 43% from three since he's returned from injury. The 3-point shot looks good. He's rebounding better. IQ, RJ is going to come back, obviously. IQ is going to come back to the second unit. IQ was playing well. Do we still need to upgrade the bench? I'm not pressed at this point. Early on in the season, I really was. But right now, I'm not pressed. I'm not pressed at all at this trade deadline. I think for me, I don't want the Knicks to go into the trade deadline thinking, oh, we need to upgrade the bench. Just upgrade the team. If you see something that's going to make us better as a team, do it. If not, don't. I still want them to think, to have a macro view and not just make moves with this season in mind. Think about next year. Think about 2 years from now. Think about the direction you want to go in. Think about the salary cap. Think about who on this team do you really want to be here for the long haul? Who don't you want to be here? Make decisions based on that, right? But that's where I'm at. I'm not pressed about upgrading the bench. Pudge Nice, I'm pressed because the gameplay is boring. Yeah, I mean, I get that. I think for me, it's just about the wins, the aesthetics of it. That's not a big thing for me. But them getting tough baskets, playing good defense, learning how to close out games, like that's what I'm really plugged into. Are they making the right decisions? I'm more plugged into that, more so than how the team looks in doing it, how aesthetically pleasing it is. But I get what you're saying. Sean Kearns, I would like the front office to stay pat. The bench is finally getting the chemistry together. They play team ball. And the grill won. I hope I said that right. Appreciate you. At Pudge, winning is exciting. That's how I feel, but everyone doesn't feel that way. Keep Turner keeping it 100. He said we need to upgrade the starting lineup. We need starter help and better talent, not bench help. That's the least of our worries. Yeah. I mean, listen, if we're gonna become championship contenders eventually, the starting lineup this starting lineup is not a championship contending starting lineup. So in that respect, I agree with you. And the Knicks are looking at becoming championship contenders in the next few seasons, I believe they're going to have to upgrade the starting lineup. It's possible. It's possible, you could say, well, if this starting unit stays together for a few more years, maybe they can grow into a championship contending starting lineup. I think that's a tough sell. RJ Randall, two-time All-Star, made the All-NBA team. Let's appreciate him and enjoy the fact that he is on our team. Yeah, and he needs help. Randall, and this was my take, and this is why I appreciate the panel members that I sit with. I appreciate the other Knick content creators that I listen to, and I appreciate the chat. And shout out to Uncle Freezy at Blanche Tears. How would Randall had looked in that playoff game had he had shooters around him that opened up the floor so that Atlanta could not pack it in the key, right? When you have a better roster and you have better players, individual players look better. You can't expect one player to drag a team across the through a playoffs and just win on their own. And I was disappointed in Randall. As I see both sides. There was times and when he looked like a deer in headlights, but a lot of that was because Atlanta took away all of his options. None of those guys that was on the floor with him was anybody that can create on their own. We had our most success when we had Derrick Rose in the game. Why? because Derrick Rose can create on his own. All of those other guys had to wait for Randall to create for them, to get into his move, draw the defense, and create for them. They stacked the box. So he wasn't able to do that. So it's easy to look at one play, and this is something I've had to learn since that playoff run. It's easy to point to one player, but when you have better players around you, you play better because you have more space. They can't key on you. You understand? So we could sit here and we could talk about, Julius Randle and that first playoff appearance, but he wasn't the only one on the team. He wasn't the only one that didn't play well. Right? And there was a reason he didn't play well. He wasn't surrounded by players that performed in the playoffs. All right? So let's keep it 100 as far as that as far as that's concerned. All right. What's up with RJ Barrett? The defense is not great. He got off to a slow start. But it's looking like more than that because he's gotten off to slow starts before. His defense has other than his first season, maybe his first 2 seasons, his defense wasn't great last season as well. But it just looks a little different this year. It looks a little different. And I'm wondering if it's taken him some time or it's a challenge to find his way playing in a lineup with Randall and Brunson. All 3 of those guys need the ball in their hand to be effective, right? RJ Barrett, though, his catch and shoot is pretty good, so he can play off of those guys. I'm wondering if, on one side, he feels like, man, I can do more for this team. But these guys, they take so many shots, not really a lot of room for me to do what I do. I'm wondering. But then on the other side, you look at how many shots he gets per game. You can argue, yeah, you could talk about Brunson, you could talk about Randall all you want. You still get enough shots on this team to make a difference. I don't know. Only thing I'll say is RJ Barrett doesn't look great. And I'm just trying to figure out what it is. He looked better last year than he does this year, right? And statistically, the numbers are comparable, I believe. Might even be better. But something just looks a little off to me. I'm wondering what you guys think about that. Paris Duggar, Freezy is wrong about the playoffs. He was burnt out because of the minutes to get us there. D Rose was there that year as well as Burks. Listen, stop it. So can we stop with the burnt out? Can we stop with the burnt out? These are NBA players. Come on, it's the playoffs. So by the time he got to the playoffs, he was burnt out. That's why he couldn't perform. Listen, I think it was a little bit of both. I think he was a little shell-shocked, right? But I also think because of the team he had with him, they took away his options and they crowded the box. So Stafford Don, stop the hate. Yeah. I mean, I had to look at it myself. C-Mac, I was saying the same thing you said after the series. I was saying the exact same thing. But the team you have around you makes a difference. All right. Yes, Tibbs did nothing either in terms of moving him around, doing things a little different, try to hit him on the move, and things like that. The thing about it, though, he was the head of the snake. No matter where you moved him, like you just needed somebody else. James Glass, RJ's playing more off the ball and isn't a good enough shooter to excel in that role. Burks gave us one more defender around him, so his poor defense stands out more. Yeah, that's definitely a good point. Paris Duggar, RJ got to focus on being a connector and focus on D. You act like NBA players are robots. They get tired too. All right. Pump up your off-season plan. You know what I mean? Luka ain't getting tired. Who has more usage than him in the playoffs? He's not getting tired. These other guys not getting tired. So I mean, I get it. I get it. Nev the Disruptor, Steph, when a player signs a big contract, he normally puts extra pressure on himself to perform and justify the contract. Yeah. Be possible. Nev the Disruptor. Yeah. Keep turning. When you're a good team, you don't get burnt out. You crank it up a notch. Now ain't the time to be tired. That's what I see. The best, you know? If you want to say those 4 extra games, they weren't, I don't know. I don't know. All right. The Knicks, join me tonight on Queen's Court. We'll be talking about some of this with the panel. I think Tony Crow will be there from Knicks and Bruises. DJ Shuttle should be there. Anybody else who want to join the Queen's Court, let me know. Shoot me a DM. You could definitely drop by. Or the Knicks one step away from contention. We'll talk about that a little bit tonight. I think it, and I say this because there's been some rumblings, at least in the NBA, in the MBK family chat about that. Depends on who that player is. A star, 1 star away. Perhaps, yeah. I would agree. I would think that the Knicks are 1 star away from being a championship contender, but I will also say there's a difference between being a championship contender and closing it out. Look at Philly. They've been a championship contender for a few years now, right? Closing it out is something else. Shout out to Paris Duggar. Appreciate the super chat. Randall spent his last breath clinching against Boston. All right. He needs to get in better shape, in my opinion. Jeff Clafter, we need an elite 2-way wing, and we can be in that conversation. All right. Thoughts on the proposed Obi Center trade. So there was reports that the Knicks had offered. Listen, it's trade deadline. You don't know what's true. You don't know what smokes and mirrors, right? Fournier and Obi Toppin, probably some draft capital for Malik Beasley and Jarrett Vanderbilt for the Utah Jazz. We'll talk about this also tonight on the Queen's Court as well. I like Vanderbilt. Malik Beasley, I could take him or leave him. We can get Vanderbilt. I think he's making $4+ million this year, $4+ million next year. I think there's a little upside in his game offensively, but defensively, this is somebody who can defend multiple positions, 1 through 4. He can rebound. He can block shots. His offense needs to come along, right? I like Jarrett Vanderbilt. I think he could play behind RJ Barrett. He can also play behind Randall. Beasley, Beasley is inefficient as well. Yes, he could shoot the 3, but he's inefficient. I will say what a player was on one team doesn't mean they're going to be that on your team, right? Doesn't mean he's going to be inefficient on the Knicks. The Knicks are not a very good 3-point shooting team. He can shoot the 3. He's not a great defender, but there's been times in his career where he was a better defender. Maybe being on a defensive-minded team. We're not executing defensively, but we're a defensive-minded team. Maybe he'll do better, right? Again, Malik Beasley, I could take or leave. Jarrett Vanderbilt, I like a lot. I think the Knicks fan community is split on Obi Toppin. I think there are some of us who believes that, maybe he will turn into a good player down the line. But the Knicks need something different. I personally believe that the minutes Obi Toppin is getting right now is about right. There's some that believe no, he's being held back by the Knicks, by the fact that he's playing behind Randall, by Tibbs, that there's more to his game. There's much more that he could do, and he's being held back, right? I've heard people say that, if we're going to trade Obi, he should be in a trade for a star. You know, I was listening to Nick of Time. Shout out to Jay Ellis and Nick of Time. You know, someone on the show said, you know, it's embarrassing that we're talking about trading Obi Toppin for a few role players. And shout out to him. We're all entitled to our opinion. I'm not I don't have any problems with his opinion, but it just struck me like, wow, like that's how split the Knick fan base is on Obi Toppin's potential, right? So if you're saying it's embarrassing that we included him in a trade for Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt, these role players, you believe that, you know, he could be much more than that, potentially, you know, star potential. So the Knicks, like I said earlier, you know, there's one thing in terms of evaluating talent in the draft, evaluating talent in free agency, but you also have to evaluate the talent on your own roster, right? In-house evaluation. What do you believe about Obi Toppin? And guys, fans, we only see Obi Toppin in the games. The Knicks front office see him in off-season workouts. They see him during training camp. They see him in practice, and they see him in games, right? So they have much more knowledge about all of these players than we do who only watch them in the games, right? And they have to do their in-house evaluation on what they think Obi Toppin's upside is, you know? And the cap, you know, the money, he's up for an extension. Not that they have to give it to him, but he's up for an extension. IQ is up for an extension. All of these factor into the decision, right? You don't want to have a $500 million roster and that team is not a championship contender. So sometimes you do have to make tough decisions. You might even like a player, but because of salary considerations, you have to move off of them. So it remains to be seen what the Knicks, you know, do with Obi Toppin, if anything. If anything. James Glass, people still view Obi as the 8th pick and not a third-year player who's about to be a restricted free agent. Make the best move for the team. Exactly. Yeah. So when you're making a decision, it's not always about the talent. It's about the talent. It's also about who he's playing behind. It's also about where he fits with your particular team. It's also about that he's up for a contract. So it's not always, oh, I don't like this player. I don't think this is a good player. That's why I'm trading him. It's a lot of factors that go into it. Sean Curran, sorry, Queen. I definitely feel that the biggest blunder the front office made by drafting Obi. Hell, the old front office let Knox play so they could evaluate him. They did that the first year, but you know, when Fizdale was here and they were going in a different direction, and it seems like they weren't really concerned with winning games. And you're right, Kevin Knox played, you know, as many minutes as he can. But after that season, Knox minutes became, you know, he got less and less minutes as the seasons went on, right? And I think, again, there's that in-house evaluation that goes on. And I think at some point, even with all of that time that they gave Knox, they just felt like he's not that guy. And this is something that, you know, there's the argument, you know, is the guy not getting time because he's not earning it? He's not showing enough to get time? Or no, you need to just give the guy time and let him develop and show what you can do. And there's two sides two sides to the coin. I believe that even if you're getting 10, 12, 17 minutes a game, you might not be able to show everything I shouldn't say that. You might not be able to have a significant impact on the game statistically because you're just not playing enough minutes, but it's still enough to show your skill level. I think it's still enough time to show your skill level. It's still enough time to show what you can do. But you also run into another conundrum, if you will. If you don't see something from a player, does that mean they can't do it? or that's just not their role on this particular team. So it's really nuanced. It's really nuanced. You know, sometimes you see guys when they go to another team, you know, you see them flourish, and you say, wow, but that wasn't their role on their previous team, right? And then you have other players, they go to another team, they get a bigger role, and you be like, okay, yeah, now I understand why they weren't playing. You know, I mean, you're playing the percentages, you're taking educated guesses with talent evaluation. You have some data, obviously, but you're projecting. You're always projecting. What can this player, what do I think this player can be in the long term? How would that fit with us? And sometimes you make the right decision, and sometimes you make the wrong decision. There's no way you're going to know it with 100% certainty, though. I don't care what the front office is. Can't tell me Golden State knew Steph Curry was going to. Now, this is with the draft, that Steph Curry was going to be who he was. They didn't know that. Milwaukee didn't know Giannis was going to be who he was, right? And it's the same thing with in-house evaluation. You don't know with 100% certainty. You have some data, and you have to project. See, Mac, Knicks can't project talent most of the time. You know, when it comes to the draft, I can't say I disagree. G. Robinson, I would do the Vanderbilt trade for Obi because he doesn't need significant minutes behind Rand. And that's the other thing, too. You know, if you believe Obi deserves more minutes and he needs more minutes, he's not going to get it on the Knicks. He's just not going to get it behind Julius Randle. It's just not going to happen. Right? So the best bet for him individually probably would be to go to another team. And we can say we want to put Obi Toppin in a trade for a star. There is no team in it. I would be shocked, put it that way, if Obi is the headliner in a trade for a star. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. This is Tibbs. He doesn't respect rookie contracts. You need 5 years of quality service to earn his trust. Stop. So what's the difference between Obi and IQ? What's the difference between Obi, Grimes, and McBride? So we sit here and we talk about, Tibbs doesn't develop players. The organization doesn't develop players, but we only look at the players who don't develop. Those who are developing, we don't want to give any credit to Tibbs or the organization. It goes both ways. It goes both ways. And the bottom line is, with any organization, you win some, you lose some with these players. You hit or you miss. We really want to believe that the Knicks are doing it worse than any other organization, and it's just not true. Every organization hit and miss. Go back before Golden State drafted Curry. Look at their draft picks. Look at their rosters. Right? They hit and they missed. Take any team in the NBA. Go back. Look at their draft from year to year. Who they picked in the draft from year to year. Look at their rosters from year to year. How many did they hit on and how many did they miss on? It happens in every single organization, right? So you want to talk about Obi isn't developed? Oh, that's because of Tibbs. Look at McBride. Look at Grimes. Look at IQ, right? So the guys that aren't developing, that's on Tibbs and the organization. And the guys who are developing, that's on them, the players. Can't have it both ways, family. Can't have it both ways. Marcus Miller, it's a crapshoot. Golden State did better deep in the draft than they did with the 2 picks. One playoff win in a decade is not on par for most teams. We are doing it worse than most teams. And I think because we're drafting worse than most teams. No doubt about it. Jeff Clapter, Obi is stuck behind an all-star. Jerrell, at this point, you would definitely keep IQ and trade Obi. They both have to get paid soon, for sure. Jeff Clapter, Grimes outworked Evan for his spot. part of that is true, but also, and this is what I'm trying to say, it's not always the games. Like, that's all we have access to is the games. The Knicks organization, the Tibbs, the coaching staff, they have access to practice. They have access to film. They have access to training camp. They pushed Grimes a little bit. They force-fed him a little bit, right? But why did they do that? Because they probably saw something in practice. They probably saw something on film. I don't know if he was injured. As soon as he was better, he went right into the starting lineup the first time. Then he got injured again. He had a setback. By that time, Cam came along. Cam was doing, much better, playing much better. Then when Grimes came back, they were, sharing minutes. At that time, he even went to 11-man rotation to get both Grimes and Cam minutes, right? So I do think they kind of pushed Grimes a little bit, held him out of Donovan Mitchell trade talks. Again, I don't think he was the deal breaker. I think there were multiple deal breakers, but they saw something in him, which is why they pushed him. So I just think we have to take that into consideration as well. Why did they sign iHeart? Why didn't they push Obi Toppin? Why didn't they say, well, listen, in order for Obi Toppin to get run, he's stuck behind Randall. It's not really a lot of minutes there. You know what? We're not gonna sign iHeart. We're gonna play them together. Make that commitment. They didn't do that. There's things they see that we don't see as well. While one player gets pushed and stuck with, and another player doesn't. Same thing with McBride. I was like, I don't know. And I'm not saying I was giving up on McBride for all time. But I was like, you know what? Maybe McBride, maybe we need to bring in another point guard. And I'm not sure. I still don't believe this, but I was definitely like, McBride is not ready. I think we need to back off of him a little bit. But they see something in practice. Maybe he's knocking down his shots in practice. Maybe, there's something he's doing outside of the game that makes them feel like, you know what? We want to give him this opportunity. We see something. And maybe they're not seeing those same things in Obi. Maybe. I don't think it's a personal vendetta. Like, coaches want to win. If they see a player that can help them win, they're going to create that opportunity. I think part of it with Obi is he's just stuck behind Randall. I think that's all it is. He's stuck behind a 2-time All-Star, 1-time All-NBA player. I think that's what it is. Going forward, they see more potential of this team with Randall than Obi. If they trade him, that's it. I don't think they trade him because they don't believe in him and they don't like him. I don't think it's any of that. You got to make decisions in real time. We got somebody in front of him. He's up for a contract. We're closer to contending with some changes, with some tweaks, don't get me wrong, than we are to the lottery. All of that is going to factor into the decision on Obi Toppin. And plus his skill set and how much further they think he needs to go. I don't think it's personal. Paris Duggar, Tibbs condemns. It's a shame he doesn't guide guys. All right, that's what you say. But how do you explain IQ? How do you explain McBride? If anybody is being guided, it's McBride. Okay? Because we can see slow incremental improvements in McBride. So this is why I disagree with these over sweeping statements and where there's other players who are flourishing and who are also young, but you ignore them and just point to what's going on with Cam and what's going on with Obi. Let's be fair about it. Building blocks. Leon Rose's son better be pushing hard for New York to trade Obi. Yeah. For the love of the game, appreciate you, Hartwell. Exactly. Keyword, real time. These decisions are made in real time. Kills in the G League getting right too, just like Deuce did. All right. I hope he's working on that shot. Stafford Don, we in the middle of the pack. That is a level. We were garbage for years. What you talking about? All levels. This is a process. It is a process. It's on the players to get better on their own. Yeah, I mean, and maybe we'll talk about this on the Queen's Court, or maybe we'll talk about this on the Just Nicking It show, even though I think we're going to focus a lot on the trades because this Thursday show is a trade deadline show. You know, the coach doesn't develop. What does development mean? Like, do you think Tibbs or any coach is out there, you know, rebounding the ball for McBride? You know, putting him through the paces, putting him through a workout. So when we say that Tibbs is not developing and the organization is not developing, what does that look like? Does that look like just giving them time no matter what? So if you give them time no matter what, that's developing? Or does it mean that the coach is doing drills with the player? Like, or the organization is like, what do we mean when we say the coach is not developing the player, the organization is not developing the player? Every player doesn't have the same potential. That's just the bottom line. They don't. You could put the same effort in one player than in another player, and you'll get more out of one player than the next player because they just starting at different levels. I just don't believe that every player can develop equally into the same type of player. Some players are just better than others from the giddy up, as my grandmother would say. From the giddy up, some players are just better than others. It doesn't matter how much time you give them, how much specialty developmental staff you put around them. They just not it. You know, we had the same conversation with Ntilikina. We had the same conversation with Knox. People want to believe those guys didn't develop because of the organization, not because they themselves weren't good enough. The Knicks didn't do a good job. Like, you could just bring anybody in and make them a star and make them a good player if you just sprinkle a little magical dust on them, you know, and give them playing time. They're going to blossom into a star. It just doesn't work that way. Some players are just better than others. Point blank, period. Yes, we on prime time during the trade deadline, Thursday, 9 p.m. No doubt about it. G. Robinson, and then I got to get out of here. We got to get out of here. Sometimes you have to look at the player's mentality. Grimes and IQ were hard workers before the NBA. Yep, Kareem Grant. Hey, we are 3 games over 500. Yeah, we are. Mike Boyd, y'all sounding kind of crazy. I don't like the Tibbs treatment of Cam, but the rest don't stand up. Sorry. Yeah, all right. We're going to be here all day. We're going to have a show. Eastern Conference right now, the Knicks are 7th in the Eastern Conference, just 1.5 game behind Miami for that 6th spot. Miami has lost 2 straight. They are 5-5 over their last 10. And like I said, 6 through 12, there's going to be turnover. Look, Toronto was in the 12. Indiana now. Indiana was what, 5 or 6 at one point. They're down to 11. It's packed 6 through 12. You lose a few games, you could be out of the play-in. You know, that's just how it is. All right, next game, we play Orlando. Don't sleep on Orlando. They're 13th in the Eastern Conference, but they've been playing well. They're 10 games under 500, 22-32. They're 6-6. Wow. Yes, it was. I did this last night. I think I was dozing off. 5-5 over their last 10. They won their last 2 games, right? They're 6. Now, the offense and defensive rating, I moved it to the last 10 games instead of for the season to just give us a better sense of what a team is doing as of late and what we're doing as of late. They're 16th, the last 10 games in offensive rating, 13th in defensive rating. The Knicks are 12 over their last 10 in offensive rating, 28th in defensive rating, giving up 120.7 points per 100 possessions. Right? We beat them earlier in the season. I think this is going to be a dogfight. If it's the team and the bench that showed up against Philly, this should be an easy win. It is in Orlando. We'll see which team is going to, not necessarily which team is going to show up. The Knicks usually show up. It's the shooting, the defense, and closing. How are they going to do? Barrett, I would think should be back. So Brunson, Grimes, Barrett, Randall, and Sims. Their last games, they started Fultz, Harris, Mancaro, Wagner, and Carter Jr. That's who they started the last game. All right, where to find me tonight, 8:30 p.m. Queens Court, Nothing But Knicks channel. Be sure to join me there. I'll be back Wednesday for the morning recap of the Orlando show. And then Thursday, 9 p.m., the Just Nicking It show, trade deadline show, right? So we'll have plenty to talk about whether or not the Knicks make a move. Paris Duggar, appreciate the super chat. Orlando was playing well and hard to beat, but so are we. Yeah, definitely. Building blocks, I'm not sleeping on Orlando. We lose to teams like this. We have. All right. Let me just shout out people out the door. Hour 20 today. Jeff Clafter, appreciate you. E. Gibson, Jerrell, Building Blocks, Paris Duggar, Nick Yak, Geraldine, Nick Nation, 112. Yes, we got 108 in the chat. Please hit the like button on your way out. Sankford 929, who feels Cam is entitled. Pudge Nice, thank you for being the most consistent. I try. These Sunday shows, I'm not sure about the Sunday shows. I'll make a decision on that soon, but I do try to be consistent. It's me. I remember people calling Grimes a ham sandwich. Yes. David, Mike Boy, I appreciate you. Geraldine MacGyver, Kerry Cox. Obi's non-development is Obi's own fault. David, Evan needs to be in the rotation, perhaps 7 to 12 minutes. Keep him warm and engaged. He can bolster that second unit. I agree. I've been saying that. Listen, I don't agree with Tibbs or everything. I would be playing Cam as well, but I do think there's something else going on with Cam. Pudge Nice, Beasley will take Deuce minutes. I'm okay with that because I believe you could still develop. Anyway, we'll get into that. Later, Nev the Disruptor, I appreciate you. I think I got everybody. Staffer. Marcus Miller, C-Mac, I appreciate you. King Ribby RM. Jeff Clafter, of course. Kerry Cox, of course. Anna Grow One, of course. Movies and stuff. Who agrees with Ellis? Trading Obi for role players is crazy, but Obi is a role player himself. So what are we going to do? He's a role player himself. Paris Duggar, we beat Boston full strength, Philly full strength, Cleveland full strength, Miami full strength. This is a good team, not a consistent team. But this just lets me know how good they can be. They learn how to close. The bench becomes consistent. Brunson is Randall consistent. RJ becomes more consistent. This is a good team. Championship contending team? Probably not, but a very good team. Very good team. Definitely number 6 and even challenging for number 5 if they were more consistent. Pudge Nice, appreciate you. David L. I think I got to everybody. Tim Smith. I just like to shout you guys out. There's no me without you. I definitely know that. Shot Powers, I appreciate you. And definitely check out Shot Powers show with Divine, Knicks Real Talk. They're doing some good things over there as well. Sharon, also appreciate you. Just all of the content creators, just support. We're doing this because we love it. Sharon, what do you think we should give up for OG now that Kyrie is a superstar, went for such a low price? I say Obi, Cameron, and protected first is the max. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Kyrie went for such a low price because of the extenuating circumstances, right? If it wasn't for that, he wouldn't go for that price. I'm on record. OG, I wouldn't trade. I'm definitely not trading 3 first-round picks for OG. I think that when you're injury prone, the price should come down. I do think we are better with him. But listen, Vanderbilt is cheaper. Now, Vanderbilt has a little ways to go offensively, though. But as far as having some offense, can hit the 3 some, and also can play defense, I like him, and he's cheaper. So yeah, if they would do Obi Cam in a protected first, I would do that. I'm not giving up a haul for OG because he's injury prone. Sean Kearns, I appreciate you, was in the building early, as well as Jeff Clafter. I appreciate you guys. Tonight, Queens Court, 8:30 p.m. on the Nothing But Knicks channel. And then I'll be back here Wednesday morning. Until next time.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's her.
shine. Dope Soul.
Where you at?
Dope Soul.